I don't even know where to start. That was just embarrassing, dreadful. Full time, Olympic Lyon 3, Manchester City 1. I can't believe we only scored once. That was, just what was Pep doing? I think I'm going to talk about Pep first because I think ultimately he's what cost us the game. I said yesterday in my preview that I thought Man City were like favorites for this game, and they were pretty much everybody's favorites. I said they'd probably win comfortably, but there was a caveat. There was like a little asterisk next to when I said that. I said if Pep didn't overthink things, and that's exactly what happened today. The lineup that I predicted was already defensive. It was based off what he went with at Real Madrid, and that was already a more defensive lineup than City would normally play. It had Foden or Bernardo out wide in case we needed the extra defender to help out Walker, because I just knew that Lyon played a certain attacking way, and I knew Pep would want to counter that. But I didn't think he'd go so far as to match their formation. If anything, if you watch the video I did yesterday, the preview, I didn't explicitly mention this, but I knew that Lyon had played a 3-5-2 sort of formation in their last couple of Champions League games, and I didn't expect them to play it in this game because I thought they were going to do what City did today. I thought they were going to revert to our formation to try and match us, but instead they didn't. And I guess it worked out for them. There's just so many baffling decisions. The 5 at the back in the first place is already like, it's just so questionable. This is a team that finished 7th or 8th in France, and instead of just taking it to them, playing our normal style, which we probably would have just crushed them. Like, I thought they would score, but I didn't think they'd be able to like really trouble us if we just played how we normally do. Instead, we played this 5 at the back. You include Garcia, which, well, I did like Garcia, and I have liked him since he's been playing. The fact that he wants to leave, and he's like made it known that he wants to leave. Pep himself has said that Garcia wants to go. He shouldn't be playing in a Champions League game of this magnitude. If he doesn't have the belief or like the fight to stay at the team, he shouldn't be playing for us in such a big game. And there's also another like 2 big issues that happen because of the change in formation. When you play a 3 at the back or a 5 at the back, what happens is you bring your fullbacks more forward, or they're forced more forward, and that can cause a lot of issues, especially if the fullbacks aren't used to playing in that sort of system. But why that's especially bad for City is because our center backs are all fairly slow. Laporte is the quickest of them, and he's not even that fast. But if you're going to play Fernandinho and Garcia, who are both extremely slow players, you shouldn't further isolate them by then having the fullbacks play higher up the field, because then you're giving Lyon the chance to get right onto our center backs. They can more directly get to the center backs and cause even more issues. It's actually baffling to me like how a top manager in the world like Pep Guardiola doesn't think about that before the game, and if he does, he just overthinks it. Like, I don't know where he was getting that idea from. The other issue that arises from playing that 5 at the back is that you lose the midfield control that we normally have. Instead of allowing De Bruyne to go free forward, even with your double pivot of Gundogan and Rodri, it became clear that all the creativity was going to come from Kevin. And when that's the case, the other team can put more men on him. They know that Gundogan and Rodri aren't going to pick out a pass to find Sterling and Jesus through on goal. So instead, they can just all focus their attention on De Bruyne, and they can limit the amount of touches that either Sterling or Jesus gets. It took way too long for Pep to realize the error in like what he did. He waited, I think, till the 55th minute to make his first substitution, and by then, he should have already recognized that there was an issue. And if you're not going to make a change in the first half when it's so clearly obvious to people sitting at home, it must be obvious to you as well, being a manager, then at least make it at halftime. Don't wait another couple of minutes, because those mean a lot. Every minute counts when you can score, and that shows with their last goal. You can be up the field at one end, and then the other team can score about a minute later. I'm going to try and hold off any of the negative things I have to say about Lyon until the end. There's a couple of players I'm annoyed with for their team, but overall, they deserve to go through. City were just very poor today, and we didn't do enough to deserve to go through. The first goal came from a long ball, and this was an error because of the system we were playing. Walker is used to playing at right back, and he's used to kind of covering as if anything, like a third center back. He drops in while the other fullback goes up. But today he was a wing back, and because he wasn't used to that, he had trouble holding or keeping up with the line, and he dropped back a good like 5-10 yards behind people, and by the time he realized that, or Laporte had realized that there was a mistake there. They had a long ball through the middle. Somebody was kept onside by Walker being so far back. Again, the pace is an issue. Garcia had to lunge because he wasn't quick enough to keep up with the striker, and because he lunged and the manner in which he tackled the ball, it immediately went back to one of their players, Maxwell Cornet, who is one of the players I'll get onto later for just being absolutely annoying. I don't want to curse, but just terrible person, I feel, based on that game. It was a good finish from Cornet, and he bent it around Ederson. Ederson shouldn't have come out as far as he did, but it wasn't really his fault given the way our defenders were playing. From there, I thought City would change things up. I thought you go down a goal, Pep's going to realize this formation change that he's done doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that a whole team, even if we're a top team like Manchester City, can learn to play an entirely new formation and system within a week. That's just not possible. But instead he waited, and there was chances kind of for City, half chances. We could have scored very early in the game, but there was a good block from Marcelo. Overall, what I was noticing in the first half is that the referee was just making a lot of poor decisions. There was times when Walker cleared the ball and he got taken out by Marcelo. I thought that should have been a yellow. And later in the game, Marcelo did get yellow carded. So like yesterday, that could have been a red card offense and he should have been suspended for their next game. And I'm not just saying that the referee refed poorly towards City. It was also for the other team as well. Like, Garcia definitely should have been yellow carded. He did this, like I mentioned yesterday, that's a straight yellow offense, and the fact that he wasn't given a yellow card for it just shows like how out of the know these professional referees are. I don't get how they get to ref games so important and they don't know basic rules of soccer or football. The goal that City eventually got back from De Bruyne, it was a great finish from De Bruyne. Sterling did well to hold it up, but Sterling had done that multiple times and failed to find a good pass, and the first time he did, De Bruyne put it into the bottom corner. And from there I thought City were just a better team. We had all of the ball. I thought we were going to create more chances, but instead they ended up going on to score and win the game. Like I mentioned about the referee before, I thought he was terrible, and the second goal for Lyon, it just killed the game. And I don't get why the referees have such power and why they have the VAR in the first place if they're never going to use it. There's so many issues with Lyon's second goal. I think if I'm looking at it from a defensive standpoint, if I'm Laporte, I'm looking at that goal and wondering, what am I doing? In terms of he terrible pass that gives Lyon the ball back, and then his movement back is very bad. It shouldn't matter if you're defending poorly if the referees are doing their job, because that goal never should have stood. The pass through to, I think it was Toko-Ekambi. If you dummy a ball like Toko-Ekambi did, if you let the ball roll through your legs, you are actively taking a step in the game. It's not like he stood there and the ball went by him and he tried to like dodge out of the way. It wasn't like dodge. If you step your foot over the ball when you know that you're offside, you're actively taking part in the play. A dummy is something that you choose to do. It's not like something that he like accidentally did, or like the ball went through his legs. He chose to make that play, and that is interfering with the play clearly. And that's just the first issue with it. Second off, the guy that scored, I think it was Dembele after he came on, he tripped Laporte, and not only is that a clear foul, and then to go on and almost blow your whistle. I've seen the replay where it shows from where the referee is. The referee was about to put his whistle into his mouth and call that as a foul, but he decided to let it go in case that it wasn't, which is what you should do. I think that's right. You should let the guy go score, and then you should review it with the VAR. But to not even go look at the screen when the VAR tells you that wasn't a foul, but it so clearly is, and you're not going to convince me or any of the other City fans that he didn't think that was a foul. He literally had the whistle almost in his mouth. He just decided not to blow it to see what happened or what took place, because the linesman didn't react to it. I could go on about the VAR or the refereeing being terrible, and I really want to. I think I could go on about every single year this happens. I know UEFA don't like City, but they could try and make it a little more or a little less obvious that they're just being so biased and they're instructing the referees to give bad calls towards City. But that's another video entirely, and that was the least of City's problems today, the fact that the referee was so awful. Like I said yesterday in my preview, I expected the referee to be bad. I know that they have a bias against City from UEFA. It's just obvious. It's not like speaking negatively towards UEFA. I understand why they're annoyed at City. I understand why City fans hate UEFA. It's just so clear that the referees are prejudiced. I said yesterday, if we were going to play well, we would have to play good enough that it didn't matter what the referees did. For a word, yesterday in my preview, I said City would need to score more goals or play to the extent that it wouldn't matter whether Lyon got good calls or not from the referee, because that's what's happened every single time we've been knocked out of the Champions League. The other team gets favorable calls from the referee. From there, City chose to fight a little more. There was another substitution, I think, and I love David Silva. He's my favorite player of all time. I'm a little angry at Pep. Shouldn't have brought him on in this game. When you're down like that, you shouldn't bring on a legend for his final game. When it's really just a humiliating performance, he should have just been left with that memory at Real Madrid coming on and helping us keep possession. It was just terrible. And speaking of terrible, oh my God, Raheem Sterling. Jesus, great run through the middle. I think he was trying to shoot across the goal, but it was just an awful shot. And this ball comes across the face of goal. Sterling could have just tapped it. I don't know what he was thinking. It's almost as if he wanted to smash it into the top corner. But when you have all of the goal to aim for, it's literally harder to miss the goal completely like he did than it is to just put it in the back of the net. And I think that just crushed City. I think it was a minute later that Lyon went down the other end and scored. Yet again, this was just a terrible goal. Ederson should have done better with it, but I can't really be angry. The game was done. I couldn't see City getting back into it. We were struggling the entire time to make any chances, and we just didn't deserve it. Pep set us up to lose today, and I think he should take all of the blame. I haven't watched any of the post-match stuff really. I heard some analysis from certain pundits, but I didn't really see any of the interviews other than De Bruyne's, and he just seemed defeated or annoyed. It's the same thing that happens every single year. City do well enough for a good portion of the Champions League. We're favorites fairly often, and we haven't been to the semi-final under Pep Guardiola, and that's the sole reason he was brought in. And the more I think about it, it's just infuriating. Guardiola has been the manager now for, I think, 4 seasons, and he hasn't even gotten past the quarterfinals. It's awful. Even Pellegrini got City to the semi-finals, and he's a terrible manager. The team Pep inherited wasn't a great team. I could make a video on that in itself. People say about him spending so much, and he kind of needed to spend a lot to revitalize that team given how many old players there were in it. But our main issue then is the same issue we still have now, our defense. Back then it was our fullbacks. We spent hundreds of millions of pounds on fullbacks, and City still don't have a reliable first choice left back, which at this stage is ridiculous. It's been 4 years and we don't have a good reliable left back that can play. And it just shows how poor defensively we are, because we have those kind of fragilities that makes Pep overthink things. We can't just be solid at the back. There's no leader or commanding presence after Kompany left, and he really should have been replaced with somebody. I know we're looking at Koulibaly. I'm not sure if he's the answer, but we do need somebody for sure. We need a better center back than what we have. We need a better left back than any of the ones we've got. We shouldn't be playing Garcia, who wants to leave, and it's just embarrassingly bad. I could go on for a long time about Pep just being foolish. It doesn't take a genius to know that City should have beaten Lyon today, and really it just comes down to how poorly the manager set us up. We weren't prepared for this game, clearly, and it's not like we underestimated them. If anything, we overestimated Lyon as a team, and we changed our own tactics and formation to kind of counter theirs, which you really shouldn't do unless you're prepared or well-versed in doing something like that. Looking at Lyon overall, they're a decent team. I thought Denier did very well. I spoke about him yesterday, but again, he should have been yellow carded earlier in the game. I'm not sure if he did end up receiving a yellow card, but he kicked Sterling 3 times at least without getting booked for it. I thought Marcelo, for their team, he had a good block, an important block early on in the game, but overall he just didn't seem very good. None of their defenders seemed great. It's just City were playing into their hands. We weren't trying to penetrate them at all. Again, they were being overly aggressive. They should have been booked more often than they were, and I think that the referee was clearly on their side. The biggest, I don't even know what to call him. I don't want to curse, I said before. I don't want to name call somebody, but Maxwell Cornet, is he even a grown person? I don't even know how to put into words what I'm thinking about him right now. It's one thing to dive when you think you can do something for your team. It's one thing to dive in the box, maybe try and win a penalty, or like if that's like the kind of player you are. But you can't then roll around on the ground. Like once you're found out for simulating, you should really learn from it. You shouldn't, and it should never be your first instinct. I know it's a part of the game to an extent. If you can fool the referee, it's more on the referees being terrible. But you should have some self-dignity. Like I'm almost like embarrassed for him. I know he probably doesn't care. Other fans will say like, there's no way he cares because he's the team. Like he's part of the team that's going to the semifinal. But newsflash, you're gonna get knocked out by Bayern almost 100%. If Bayern play anything like they did yesterday, they'll destroy this Lyon team. City really should have beaten them anyways, despite how badly we were playing, and we were kind of all over them, even though we were playing terribly. To just wrap up, I think Pep has to be questioned here. His job, I don't think he should be sacked because there's not many managers like Pep, but it should be at least come into question. Like, for instance, if Julian Nagelsmann, the Leipzig manager, was managing City and he had spent over 900 million in the transfer market since he came in, does anybody watching this video think that City wouldn't have beaten this Lyon team? If like a child had even set up the City team and just named our strongest 11, we wouldn't have played the way we did today. Anyways, I'm terribly disappointed. There needs to be some kind of change in the City team. We need more leaders on the field. We need more belief and confidence in the way we play, and we can't change how we are to reflect other teams. Anyways, I feel like I've been rambling. I'm very annoyed. I'm upset. All right, if you watch this video all the way through, I'm really grateful for that. Leave a like, comment what you think about the game. I'm just beside myself. I don't even know what to say. This has been Sleet. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.